Sup everyone, welcome back to another video. And we've heard it all, right? Best out of the worst, most underrated, most overrated, best 4-star, best 5-star, worst 4-star, worst 5-star. But I introduced to you guys one that we've almost never talked about. In fact, I don't think anybody has ever talked about this. Today, I want to bring to you guys the worst of the best character. Now, this is a weird and janky concept. Some of you guys are already commenting below, like, oh, the man's out of content. Bro, we've been out of content for like the past 2 years, right? It's not new that we're out of content, but this is something that, once again, a shower thought. It's a shower thought, yes, but I'll be honest with you guys. Shower thoughts are some of the best tangents in neural gymnastics that we have available to us. And this actually piqued my interest. So out of all the characters that are in the game right now, think of the best of the best, the creme de la creme, the cherries on top, nay, the whipped cream on top of the cherry on top of your cake, right? They're best. Out of these characters, who jumps out at you the least? Now, don't give me a knee-jerk reaction. Like, actually let that marinate. Let that sink in. Right? You know, we got a character list in front of us. I'm going to take a quick scan up and down. Right? Maybe you can include 4 stars as well. I mean, some of these 4 stars are S-tier characters. Who jumps at you the least? Is there a character that just kind of fades into the back of your mind, even though somehow they are regarded as the best character or one of the best character in the game, with a huge following, supported community, as well as numbers to back up their position in the meta? Somebody who's been giving tirelessly in the background every meta, yet almost nobody really discuss in detail nowadays. Who is that character? Now, for the people who think that I'm gonna say Raiden, you're heavily mistaken. I am not that screwed up in the head. All right, you know, we've had our differences, but this time we're letting Raiden slide. Okay, I'm not gonna harp on Raiden this time. What about Yoimiya? Is she the worst of the best? Right? What's going on here? Is it Albedo? Is he the worst of the best? No, right? Personally, I don't think is any of those characters, because to be quite frank, Yoimiya doesn't even really make it into the discussion for the best, and neither does Albedo, right? You really have to think. We're talking about characters that are constantly in discussions with characters like Hu Tao, Ganyu, Tartaglia, Zhongli, Kazuha, Eula, Ito, maybe? Ito? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't think Ito quite makes it. Yelan. Who is it out of the top characters? Now, without further ado, I'm gonna say the character, and I want you guys to just hear me out for 30 seconds after I say the character, right? Don't give me knee-jerk reactions. Let's have a conversation today. The character that I think, personally, is the worst out of the best is Eula. Okay, here we go. I got 30 seconds, right? Start the timer. All right, so the reason I think personally Eula is the worst character out of the best character is because HoYoverse literally has done nothing for her since her release. Nothing. Nada. There's been no adjustments. There's been no meta that favors her or really goes against her. In fact, actually, there have been likely accidental hits to her performance, just like what HoYoverse has done to Zhao. But I'll be honest with you, at this point, I don't think HoYoverse even remembers this character exists in the game. And you guys can scroll through the future through leaks, right? Like, you guys see the future. Tell me, when is the next adjustment to a physical damage carry meta? Right, when? So that's the reason. That's the single reason I think she is the worst. When she first came out, she was amazing. And I think her kit was insanely overtuned. Like, the amount of ceiling she had to her kit was way over the top. It was not necessary. But now you look at it, right? You look at it. Nowadays, is her burst potential still as impressive as it was in comparison back in the day? Her ceiling has not risen, but other characters, other carries have had many additions into the game which have taken their gameplay to the next level. When Ayaka first came out, Shinhe was not around. With Shinhe, she rose to the next level. When Yoimiya first came around, Yunjin wasn't in the game. Yunjin came around, she rose to the next level. When Ganyu got first introduced to the game, Nahida wasn't in the game. But since Nahida came out, Ganyu Melt has just went to the next level. Raiden Shogun, when she first came to the game, she was great, amazing, C0, right? But, lacking a little bit of punch, and her elemental skill wasn't really being fully utilized. Fast forward, Raiden Hybrid Bloom. Somehow she went to the next level. Like, what the hell? How does a character like Raiden Shogun get an indirect buff before a character like Eula? It's not like Raiden really needed that buff, right? So this is why I think Eula, unfortunate to say, do you guys agree with me? No, do you guys agree with me? Is not by any fault of her own, but simple negligence. Hoyoverse negligence. Does Hoyoverse plan to develop the physical damage carry meta? I know this entire topic is coming out of literally nowhere. It's like, not like anything's about to happen to Eula, not like she's getting a rerun, but since this topic came up, I feel like it's necessary that we address this. Who are some of the other physical damage carries in the game? Jin Yan? Sure. Razor? Sure. I mean, apart from these two who are noticeable, including Eula, who else is in the game that benefits from the physical carry meta? I mean, it just doesn't exist, right? And if you look at the future, even to potential characters, I think the only one that I thought back in the day, like a year ago, that could have been a physical carry or played around it was Scaramouche. Like back when we all thought he was gonna be an Electro character, like when we first saw him, and now that's gone out the window, right? Hoyoverse has gone into making some sort of a Tekken vibe with Scaramouche, going more heavy towards mono elemental teams, right? When Eula came out, mono teams weren't really a thing, and watching each mono team get developed in of itself, I mean, I say mono team, but like elemental teams. But for argument's sakes, should we count physical damage carries as an element in of itself? We can call them the neutral element. Non-elemental teams, like no element teams, physical damage teams. Should physical damage carries be considered also a mono team? Or a variance of mono teams? Should they fall in the same category? Since Eula's introduction to the game, I don't think her team has really changed at all. I think the only time there was any discussion around her team adjustments was when Raiden got into the game, and I do think Raiden is a decent addition to Eula teams, so many would also say it's not necessary. You don't need Raiden Shogun, right? People prefer to run Eula without Raiden Shogun because it's such a waste sticking a C0 Raiden in a Eula team. Can you guys imagine that? Why not just run Eula with another Electro character and then run Raiden on the second team? So that argument, right, it's like, oh, Raiden was an introduction that helped Eula. Raiden was an introduction that helped a whole slew of other characters. Eula would just be like one of many. Would Eula even be top 5 characters that Raiden synergizes with? Probably not. And what was an incredible character that wowed us away nowadays just feels like a shadow of her former self. I think even speedrunners nowadays, even with C6 R5 Eula speedrunners, I don't see her that often. There are other characters, more consistent and flexible characters with easier setup than Eula, even for C6 speedruns. But of course, don't get me wrong, is this character good? Is she strong? She is. I don't mean to take away from Eula's strength as a character. Remember, the point of this video is to find the worst of the best, right? I hope you guys haven't lost sight of that. If people want to line up some characters in the game, it's like, what are some of the strong carries in the game? I think Eula is still one of the strongest carries in the game. It's just compared to her peers, she no longer stands above them or shoulder to shoulder to them. She now feels like she's slowly falling behind. Eula is that person in the 100-meter dash when the gunshot went off. When she first came out, she just blasted past everybody, wowing everyone, all eyes on her, for reasons also not to just her combat abilities. But as the race went on, once she crossed the 25-meter mark, the 40-meter mark, the 50-meter mark, she slowed down and other people started catching up, and now we're like, I don't know, at the 70-80-meter mark, and she is slowly falling behind the pack. I mean, for God's sakes, look at a character like Hu Tao. With the release of Yelan, and very soon after, followed by that, the readjustment of the Hydro Resonance. For God's sakes, Hu Tao honestly can do damage similar to Eula's burst in one infusion window, and that's like on a quarter of the cooldown with no cost. Is that fair? No, of course not, but fairness isn't something people would use when talking about Genshin characters and game balance, right? So let that just be that. But I'm actually very interested in reading all the comments down below and what you guys have written. Who do you guys have as the worst of the best characters in Genshin Impact, right? Until next time, urge y'all to stay safe. Peace, peace. Bye.